disrupted.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So there was a bit of a controversial moment at the State of the Stupidity address. State of the Union address. Sorry, that was a slip there, but kind of works there. And it involved Joe Biden being heckled by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene showing up in what looks like to be MAGA gear, the hat, the sweater. There was a little bit of a back and forth tension when it came to the border crisis. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, being an advocate for securing the border, looking for different methods to reduce the migration process. And, you know, at this point, I really do have to agree that there is a border crisis. It used to be, beforehand, I thought that, I was for, immigration. I believe that sort of simulation of, people that should be allowed to come into the country and get a pathway to citizenship. I think, we obviously with our history, our ancestors, we all came from different backgrounds and different areas that came to this country. So I still believe in that. But at this point in time, considering the fact that they can track, surveil, and monitor everybody at every point in time, we should have some sort of system in place to monitor how many people are coming into the border. We should have something intact to have some sort of border security. And that's not even just me spraying that out. Bernie Sanders used to say that back in the day as, the Democratic Socialist. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. went to the border and documented the pouring in of people coming into the crossings there, and just how insane it is, how unsecure it is. And it's just a chaotic mess. It's an absolute chaotic mess. Just like what happened at the State of the Union address when Joe Biden goes on his ramble, and Marjorie Taylor Greene steps in to heckle him about the border crisis that Joe Biden is really just ignoring. Take a listen to this.
I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln.
So I don't have the beginning of this clip, but I'm assuming that just from context here that something was said about the fact that the border will be stronger under my administration, like some sort of broken promise there. And Kamala Harris, says she's going to go down to the border and check it out, but she hasn't. That's what I'm assuming here. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene steps in and says, well, it's an absolute mess. It's chaotic. Obviously, there was, the incident where a young woman was killed by an illegal immigrant coming into the country, and there's no way to track and surveil, and border security is in a crisis, trying to monitor the situation. And like I said, I think there should be some sort of setup. If we can track and surveil people through social media and IP searches and just, the technology we have now, do we not have something in place to make sure we know exactly who's coming into the border, who's exactly coming into the country, and who's leaving the country? I mean, we have that system in place in airports. Why are we not having that in just crossings within the country? That's the point of having a nation. You need to have secure borders. Otherwise, you have no nation. So anyway, but here, watch where Biden tries to step this into.
Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look.
So, I'm not sure what he's holding there. I'm not sure is that supposed to be like a token with her face? Is that supposed to be like a symbolic gesture of the young woman that died by the hands of an illegal immigrant? Is that the symbolic gesture that you're taking it upon you, and you're showing it to the audience, being like, see, I do care. I do care. I'm not just a grumpy old fart. I do care. And as Marjorie Taylor Greene perfectly states, they're still coming in. You're letting them in. So, again, State of the Union addresses are the state of stupidity, because every time you watch this, it's just an hour, 2 hours, just empty gestures, endless clapping, pats on the back for people that are just ass kissers of the establishment, and really nothing gets accomplished. Like, how many times do you ever watch a State of the Union address done by presidents now and prior that have just giving empty, sound bites and not really promise anything, not have any influential takes, not really having any sort of policy measures that would actually help attribute into the formation to make things better for people? Like, there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing. It's just a bunch of marketing terms that they say repeatedly, and then they get the room to applaud that, marketing term, and then people just soak it in, believe it, and think that, oh, well, he's saying the right words, so I guess he's definitely on board. But that may be the most interesting part of this State of Stupidity address. That Marjorie Taylor Greene stepped in and say, well, wait a second, you are letting these people in. So you stating the fact that this young lady holding up a coin or whatever it is and saying you care so much about, well, they're still pouring in. They're still pouring in. And here's a little note to that, because this article came to my attention after the State of the Union heckle job by Marjorie Taylor Greene. But she's definitely on point with this, because Biden administration admits flying 320,000 migrants secretly into the U.S. to reduce the number of crossings at the border has national security vulnerabilities. And this is from an article from All Sides. And it says, let me make this bigger for people so you can see it. Joe Biden's administration has admitted transporting migrants on secret flights into the United States, and lawyers for its immigration agencies claim revealing the locations could create national security vulnerabilities. Custom and Border Protections have refused to disclose information about a program last year secretly charging flights for thousands of undocumented immigrants from foreign airports directly to U.S. cities. It means that while record numbers of migrants were flowing over the southern border last year, the Biden White House was also directly transporting them into the country. That is a crisis. That is a crisis. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is definitely on point. Marjorie Taylor Greene definitely had a moment to say when Joe Biden pretends to give a damn about the young woman killed by an illegal immigrant while this is still happening. And there is a lot of takes on why this is happening. I think, I have a couple theories on why we're pouring in as many immigrants to countries as possible. I think one, and this is directly from the politicians themselves, is they realize that there's not enough people in the military. There's not enough people serving to do wars overseas. So the many migrants that are coming in are enlisting into the military services. So they're using that as a tactic. Also, corporations benefit from it, because the more migrants you have working in their companies, they can lower the wages and keep the working wages low. So there's another tactic on that. And number 3, which is my personal take of it, is that if you look at how they want to control populations, if you look at, back in the day, and this is kind of, you gotta really think historically, but back in the day, you think of the 15th century, where the higher ups, the lords and the nobles that were higher ups, and the big landowners, they had all this lucrative space. They were the ones that had their own castles, and they had servants, and they had huge amount of land and property to disperse out and do whatever. While the peasants that are working for the lords were cramped into this village. So I think personally, and this is just a theory, I'm not putting my foot down on this. I think personally it's easier to control major huge demographics if we get people into the same geographical area. They attempted it when it came to COVID. They tried really hard when it came to, the WEF and WHO and these NGOs that are, gone so global wide that to just flag countries when it comes to their horrible agenda. But I think deep down, to them, it'd probably be easier to have all these people just pour in to one location so that they can easily manipulate and control a population. That's at least my take. So there's possibly 3 reasons why this is still happening. And like I said, I still support, the immigration process. I still support, people that want to actually come to this country legally and apply for citizenship and, look for new life. That's the whole American dream, the American process. In Canada, it's the same thing. But when you have people just pouring in and you don't have the services to keep up with people that are already in your country, that is chaotic. That is a crisis. And that is something that everybody is now concerned with. Everybody, even even the liberal side of things, they're concerned with it because now these immigrants are pouring into New York City. They're pouring into Chicago. They're pouring into parts of California that they didn't realize, oh, wow, it's not just Texas anymore. Now it's actually influenced into my city. And now I don't know what to do. So now mayors across all of America and here in Canada as well, they're freaking out. They're freaking out because people are just pouring in and they don't know what to do. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was definitely on point with this, and Joe Biden just making an absurdity of himself, trying to change the direction to focus on that, story about the young woman that was killed by an illegal immigrant. And again, I don't know what that thing was. It was just like, I guess it was symbolism, but it just shows the lack of transparency, the lack of an initiative to actually give a damn about this problem. Because as he's saying that he cares so much about, the thousands of people that are supposedly getting killed and stabbed, this is happening. This is happening under your nose while he's saying this to you at the State of the Union address. So that I find, disheartening, disrespectful, and really just anti-American. How can you say you're representing your country and defending your country and defending American values when your nation is flowing, absolutely overflowing with a certainty of, refugees and so on and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with our endless foreign affairs policy. And which is why I've always said that if you're, for the border, if you're concerned about the border crisis, if you're concerned about migrants pouring into this country, the first thing you have to do is look at our horrible war agenda and stop it. We got to stop this global war catastrophe. We got to stop the war machine because that's all we're doing is creating more refugees, creating more chaos, creating more crisis. It's done nothing to secure anybody. It has done nothing to defend anybody. It's just made just a catastrophe on a global scale that now people are pouring into these nations because they have nowhere else to go. They're seeking survival away from a war zone that we established. That's the big thing. That's the big thing. But this is also concerning that needs to be addressed. And this was not addressed at the State of the Union. This was not addressed at any point of Joe Biden's rambling. And that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene had to step in.